Hello, and welcome to Maximal Fire, the podcast for Princeps. I'm Alex.
And I'm Oliver.
And on today's episode, we're going to be looking at the Legio Laniaskara, the Impalers. They're a lesser seen Legio, and I think probably due to the amount of chevrons that you have to paint on it.
They've got an interesting colour scheme. Yeah.
They've got a fantastic colour scheme, and they've got an interesting set of rules. So the majority of today's show, we're going to be sitting down and talking Laniaskara, as well as our usual kind of updates, events, and we're going to be taking a few patrons' questions. Well, I say patrons, sorry, all questions, Princeps questions across the board, mostly taken from our Discord server. So first off, the reason why I've got patrons on the brain is that's the first thing on our agenda. Big thank you very much to the people who have signed up to our Patreon this month. Shout out goes out to Dougie Douglas, Peter Martin, and Grimbarian Phil. Thank you very much for supporting the show, guys. I recognise that pretty much everyone there, I think, is also sat on our Discord server. So if you are looking for like a burgeoning community, the Discord server is rife with people across the community, including some of the resources and battle report channels and websites, and it's a really interactive place to sit down and chat with fellow faces across the Titanicus community. So if you want to get a bit more backwards and forwards and communication with people than you would normally get posting things up on Facebook, then do give us a go. It's a great little channel, and the link is going to be in the description of the show, both on YouTube and on Spotify or wherever you get your audio podcasts from. So this is video podcast number 2. The last one didn't deter us from carrying on, and so we thought we'd come back and do another one, as well as doing another battle report, which we filmed before the show tonight, where the forces that you see laid out in front of us, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, battled across a Martian landscape. It was Legio Ossidax versus Legio Laniaskara. There was, let's say, many exploding titans.
It was pretty vicious.
Yeah, there was there was a lot of good dice rolling, let's put it that way, and a lot of criticals. It was a really interesting battle report. So if you like watching battle reports, do check us out. Our format is slightly different to other people's. We kind of go for a more sort of live feel to our battle reports, and we try to explain kind of our rationale or some of our tactics as we're going, which is especially useful, I think, if you're new to the game and you kind of want to see the rules presented in a bare form. But do let us know what you think about the battle report if you are going to watch it, and we will hopefully, as long as people enjoy it, continue making more.
Yeah, let us know what you would have done instead, and feel free to point out our screaming errors.
Well, I'm sure they were plentiful. These things are always easy to do when you're off the cuff. But no, it was a really enjoyable battle report. And Oliver was playing Legio Laniaskara. I was taking Legio Ossidax with a few knights. It was a good game. If you want to support the show, but you don't want to go onto Patreon, which is totally fine, by the way, you don't have to, then the best thing that you can do for us is go on to wherever you're listening to your podcast, or go on YouTube, and if you can, subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, leave us a review, drop us some comments. All of that massively helps when it comes to helping get the name of the show out there. So, words from our sponsors is next up. So, Battle Bling and Grimdark Terrain, as always, kind of stalwart supporters of the show. It's been great having them along for the ride. Doing the podcast for the first time on a video format last time gave us an amazing opportunity to kind of showcase some of these amazing things that our sponsors do. And so if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, and next time you sit down to do some painting, maybe give us a watch instead of a listen, and we'll present some of the things which our sponsors are doing, including all of their up-and-coming releases, and maybe even a few sneak peeks here and there where and when we have them to be presented. The biggest news from Battle Bling is that after over a year of Battle Bling being around, it seems like 5 minutes to me. Like, I don't know about you, but I can't believe it's been over a year for the show as well.
Over a year.
Yeah, this is episode 16. I think me and Ben started Maximal Fire back in February 2021. So here we are a year later as well. But time flies. They have launched their own website, and it's a thing of beauty. They've moved away from selling their wares on eBay and Etsy, and you can now go direct to battleblingstore.co.uk. And everything that you would normally get from their Etsy store or from their eBay store is now available there as well, in a much more nicely presented format than you would get in an Etsy store. So congratulations to Battle Bling for launching their website. I know it's taken a lot of effort and a lot of time from them to pull that all together, but it just goes to show they're going from strength to strength, and it's great that we've been able to support them as well along the line. As far as their new releases are concerned, we have seen the new Acastus incinerators. Have you seen those?
Yeah,
Oliver?
yeah. Artisans of all.
No, that one's Danny Van Dyke.
Oh, it's Danny.
That's Danny. Yeah, okay. I mean, Danny seems to be knocking out things left, right, and centre at the moment. But I've also seen that I think there's a couple of different arms for the Acastus that he's bringing out. These are incinerators.
3, isn't there?
I've definitely seen
sets.
Some like conversion beamery type ones, which I know are available elsewhere as well. I want to say Vanguard Miniatures does some Acastus conversion beamers.
Yeah.
But it's a nice little upgrade if you've got some Acastus and you don't, or perhaps you don't like the look of the Forgewood models. You know, that gives you options as well.
Yeah,
and
it just gives you some variety.
Yeah. And as all things Battle Bling, all things Danny Van Dyke, it's a fantastic sculpt. Really, really good. You get 2 in a pack, which I believe is enough for kitting out fully one Acastus or splitting them across 2 models. They're also bringing out a pack of 10 of the scenic containers. Those are the ones that you may have seen, which have got our own little Maximal Fire logo on the side of it, as well as the Battle Bling ones. There's been a bit of a popular demand to get those. They used to be like a freebie. You used to get 1 in every Battle Bling order, and I think people have been calling for them so that they can, properly use them as terrain pieces. And Battle Bling have listened, and they have provided just that. So you can now buy them in packs of 10. And last but not least, they were doing a bit of a promotion in March, that was prior to the inflation price rise, which went in at the end in March, and they were giving away a little scenic battle bunker for every purchase. Those are available to buy now, and the promotion unfortunately has ended. But if you did miss out, but you do want one, then those are available to buy in store. And I think that's it as far as Bling updates. You'll probably hear quite a bit of coughing from me. I had COVID 3 weeks ago, and I'm obviously fine now, but left with this annoying cough, which makes me sound like I'm
it's lingering a little bit.
A heavy smoker. This is actually the best it's been for a while, but we've done a lot of talking.
Yeah, a lot of talking
today. A lot of talking. And this is only the start of the podcast, and I'm already getting a bit dry. But moving on. Grimdark terrain. So if you watch the battle report, or you're planning on watching the battle report, we were able to field a magnificent table of terrain by our good sponsor, Grimdark Terrain, from their Argus range. Their 3D printed stuff for Titanicus, in my opinion, is still some of the best around.
Yeah, it just looks fantastic on the table. It's great scenery.
Absolutely, yeah. And I got to feature my Samson, which hands down is one of my favourite models definitely. Ever.
Looking forward to seeing the Crash Samson.
Yes.
Making an appearance on some boards.
Yeah, I think I need to kind of get my acting gear, and I know that Bronco was working on the Crash Samson. I think that some of it is done. I think there were some more pieces to come.
I think that's going to be a very popular piece.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be after that.
It would be a great addition to my airfield board that I've got. But the March pack is out for Grimdark Terrain. In that he has released and I'm going to have to try and get the wording right on this, the Excavator Majoris, which is...
It's a giant...
Huge.
Ore excavator, I think is how you'd describe it.
I think there's real life pictures, isn't there, of those types of massive excavators.
Gigantic mining equipment.
Yeah. And he's kind of 30k'd one of those up, and it is absolutely huge. But I guess the biggest update for that is the first in what is going to be a future range of modular Ordinatus kits, which is going to be quite exciting to those of you who do like a bit of Mechanicum. He's made it specifically to be future compatible. It's also backwards compatible with the Argus range if you wanted to put like a Pervase on it, or something like that. That can fit on. But otherwise, we're going to be seeing, and I've seen a few sneaky shots here and there of what's being worked on, and there's some very exciting big guns and big pieces of equipment going to be coming later. As I understand it, there is going to be a Mechanicum month, which is going to be largely featured around more Mechanicum featured pieces as well. So more of the mining range is going to be coming soon. April will largely be mining focused and sort of add things to that range, including things which are going to effectively whatever the excavator is excavating, the mining terrain pieces. I don't know what you call them.
Mining equipment.
Basically where it's dumping all of the ore into. And also already released is the land train, which is a nice, cool little piece. Bronco still continuing to knock it out the park. I'm still waiting on my Prospero-based Tisca pieces of terrain, please, Bronco. I know I mention this to you every single time. Still waiting patiently. I'm sure my time will come in the near future. Excuse me. Great. Thanks again to Grimdark for giving us access to the STL so we can use these on our boards, on our bat reps. It's good to see the continued support from both of our sponsors to give the Titanicus community a bit of variety to really kind of expand their game beyond the scope of what is within GW. It's really great to see. I think very quickly before we move into the main section today, which is the deep dive of Legio Laniaskara, there's just a few events which I just want to give a quick shout out to, which I've been made aware of. If you do want your event to be featured on the show, do drop me a note at maximalfire@gmail.com, or you can do it via our Discord or via the Maximal Fire Instagram account, which is maximal.fire, at maximal.fire. But the next one on the list, which is for, hopefully we'll get this out before then. However, I've just realised it's the 19th of March when we're recording this, and the next one is on the 27th. So if we don't get this out in time, guys, sorry, but I hope you've had a great event if that's the case. The Battle for Talon Phase 1 is on the 27th. That's at Battlegrounds in Midlothian, Virginia. There's also the Mid-Atlantic God Engine Skirmish on the 23rd of April at Your Hobby Place in Martinsburg, West Virginia. So nice to see more events going on across the pond. Do let us know how those go on. Really interested to see how kind of like the North American meta might differ from the British one. I know it varies wildly already here within the UK.
Yeah, it would be nice to see some battle reports and some pictures from different events.
Yeah,
especially some American ones.
Yeah, absolutely. After that, there is the Destruction of Zeroth Prime. That's on April the 30th in Peterborough, back in the UK. If you're wanting some red v blue action, that is the next one I'm aware of that you can get some traitor on loyalist action going in the UK. Then there's the Goonhammer Open. I believe that's still sold out. That is on the last weekend of May. But do let the guys at Goonhammer know if you want to be added to the wait list. It's going to prove to be a popular event, I'm sure. It's taking place in Nottingham. But the guys at Goonhammer know how to put on a good time, so I'm sure it'll be a great event. Unfortunately, it's not one that I'm available to because somebody in my family decided to get married, which is very, very inconvenient of them. Then there is, I didn't realise quite how many of these events that we had. Yeah. Like when I was writing it up, it didn't seem like a lot. But the questionable loyalities, which is in Winnerish Community Centre in Reading on the 5th of July. I understand this was also very popular. I haven't got any numbers on this one, but I understand that the tickets were selling like hotcakes. So if you can get a ticket, I would jump on that fairly quickly, but the likelihood is it's probably close to sold out. And the last, but not least,
the big one for us.
Yeah, so it's finally happening. Reactor Meltdown 3, Meltdown with a Vengeance, is coming to the Bournemouth International Centre on July 9th and 10th. We are doing something a little bit different this time round. We are going to be holding a 1-day and a 2-day event. What that means is that we'll be selling tickets for the Saturday, and at the end of the Saturday there will be prizes based on how people did during that day. And then there's also going to be a day 2 upgrade ticket for slightly less money, but this is going to turn that 1-day event into a 2-day event, and ultimately this is going to be kind of like our South Coast GT, so it's going to take the points from the previous day and continue where we left off. To kind of duke it out over the full 5 rounds of the tournament. It isn't going to be red v blue like Beachhead. It's going to be back to a traditional tournament style, and the prizes for the second, there will be more prizes for the second day. There'll probably be bigger prizes for the second day. So if you can make both days, then definitely encourage you to do so. You might even win things on both days, but conscious not everybody can do 2-day events, so we thought we would try and cater for both particular markets. So summer in Bournemouth, always good.
Always. Get
yourself locked up inside a big convention centre for 2 days while the weather outside is beautiful. I know that I prefer to be inside. I'm allergic to the sunlight. I tend to burn.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Especially I probably, because of commitments, will only be there for 1 day, the first day.
Let down.
I'm using up a lot of brownie points for hobby at the moment. So at the moment, but yeah, I mean, come down, just meet some people you might know from the hobby that you haven't talked to before. See some great Titans.
Yeah,
and maybe if I can make it down on the second day, maybe I'll go run a demo game for someone who's not.
No, that's a great idea.
If you want to just come and see get a feel for the game.
Yeah,
throw some dice and blow up some Titans. And,
I think we may have burnt more of your brownie points tonight when we ran a little bit later than we expected to with recording the show today and the battle report. So yeah, you're going to be doing all of the washing up, I think, for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, that's all of the events.
Yeah.
Busy, and it's great to see the continued kind of popularity of...
it's good to see them selling out as well.
Yes. Yeah. They don't hang around for long. Certainly in the UK, as soon as they're up, they often only last a few weeks before they're all gone.
Definitely.
That's something else, actually, we're considering. I think we're going to look to up the numbers for the BIC event. Previously, we've limited it to 30. Which has resulted in usually about sort of 25, 26 people. But we're going to terrain dependent, as long as we can.
Terrain dependent.
Yeah, as long as we can get the tables all together and we can get the mats, we're going to be looking at 40. So 20 tables of terrain.
Yeah.
Nothing like a goal. We'll see. We'll see how we get on with that. But yeah, no, it'll be good. It's good to have a goal. Talking of which, that was exactly how we managed to get your beautiful Laniaskara Titans done.
They've been sat as a work in progress since late 2020. And Alex gave me 3 weeks. So if we want to use them in the battle report.
I'm such a slave driver.
So, no, it was fantastic. And it's just the kick I needed to get them finished. So I've spent the last 3 weeks, every minute of hobby time has been getting them finished. And yeah, Friday morning, managed to get them finished. And they are battle ready. Might change the carapace weapons.
Always tinkering.
Always tinkering. It's only because the hazard stripes, I think, not 100% happy with the colour scheme. They work quite well on the Ossidax, I think. Not quite so well on the Laniaskara.
In your opinion, I still think they look beautiful.
Yeah. But, yes, so the varnish was still tacky on Friday afternoon while I was boxing them up for today. So.
I think I actually saw your first Laniaskara Reaver before I even knew you as a person, like on Instagram.
Guy. Yeah. First Titan I ever built, first Titan I ever painted. Yeah.
And you've still retained your sanity from all the chevrons. Yeah.
Honestly, the chevrons aren't a big deal for me. I like painting them. I know it puts a lot of people off their colour scheme, and that's perfectly understandable. It is an amazing colour scheme, but the chevrons are
daunting.
Yeah, and there's several ways of doing them. I mean, custom transfers, templates, airbrush. I'm sure there's a way of cheating and making it an easier job than hand painting them. But
somebody needs to get us a stencil or something for the airbrush.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Just a big sheet of transfers you can cut to size.
Yeah.
So happy with them.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, you'll see them sat down here in front of us. If you watch the battle report as well, you'll see them in action.
Yeah, you can see them on my Instagram as well. So.
They're lovely. I've always liked the colour scheme. I think that. If I wasn't a little bit daunted by the chevrons, I probably would have done them myself as well.
I think it's one of the only colour schemes where I've looked through the book and it's just instantly gone, yep, I'm doing that one.
Yeah.
Like, just not even questioned it, just, yeah.
Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? I've always kind of thought, bar a few, the Traitor Legio seem to have better colour schemes. You don't think the same,
I think the Loyalists, as a rule, have more variety and better colour schemes. I think the Traitor ones, apart from a handful, tend to be more muted. But I mean, a colour scheme is just a guideline. It's what the individual person does with that. You take it, you run with it, you do your own thing. You make it your own. If you don't like a certain hue of one colour, you just brighten up or darken it down. Yeah.
Oh, the amount of different coloured varieties of Gryphonicus I've seen, for instance.
Yeah, exactly.
How much variety you can make out of yellow and grey is pretty incredible. Like you've got the traditional kind of dark grey and yellow. I've gone for more of a speckly light grey. I've seen like blue grey, like proper blue greys.
Yeah,
yours is
mine are more blue grey.
Yeah, it's
my blue's a lot brighter as well, more vibrant.
I agree. I agree with that to an extent. I think if similar to kind of like the Space Marine Legios, it's often though that the Loyalists tend to stay close to the primary colours.
Yes.
Whereas the Traitors tend to have something a little bit
more out there. Yeah. A little bit more vibrant. Yeah,
absolutely. So, how would you guys like to hear some of the rules? I think. So, Legio Laniaskara, the Impalers. As we've already mentioned, kind of like some really interesting rules. They're one of my favourite Legios, both colour schemes and for the rules within the Traitors. A lot of people, when they think close combat, they think Legio Vulpa, which, let's be honest,
they are your go-to combat Legio.
They are the out and out best, quote unquote, close combat Legio. However, Laniaskara do close combat very, very well. but I don't think that they get quite so, dare I say it, pigeonholed down that route. I think that they can do combat well, but they're still quite flexible.
Yeah, they rely more on charges to get the most out of them, whereas Volpa can just be in combat and be good.
Yeah.
Legio Laniaskara would rather.
All of their bonuses are on the charge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of the rules, and as usual, I'm gonna read them out like a bedtime story, and let's talk about them. So the first trait that they have is direct measures. Subtlety is not a concept that exists within the minds of those who serve the Legio Laniaskara. Instead, the Impalers bring the fight to their foe, hunting them down wherever they may lurk. Once per round, a single Laniaskara Titan can declare power to locomotors without needing to push its reactor. Good.
You're always going to use it.
Yeah.
If you're moving, the chances are you're pushing, and the fact you can do it without rolling a dice.
Yeah.
Big bonus. There's no downside to that.
And I think as well that this adds. So say for instance, you corrupt the Titans. A lot of people's automatic go-to for corrupting their Titans is something like Preternatural Grace.
Mm-hmm.
You can effectively get the same ability without having to corrupt them. So you can give them something else.
And it's free.
Yeah, it's free. Yeah,
it's not an upgrade.
Yeah, you could give them Overwhelming Rage. You could give them Organic Protrusions. All those other mutations, and get the sort of benefit of Preternatural Grace for one Titan in one round, without having to push the reactor. But I've always said that Titanicus is a game of manoeuvre. I think that it's an incredibly important part of the game. It often the side which can outmaneuver their opponent often is the one who is going to be taking the objectives if you're playing objective-based games, and a free push is not to be sniffed at. When you look at, say for instance, Warhounds, they've got a good 8-inch movement basic. You rarely push a Warhounds for movement because there's always that risk that on that double,
too high risk,
you're going to burn it out. But you can take that risk with Laniaskara and get that 12-inch move with no downside.
I mean, you're less likely to be taking Warhounds, I think, with Laniaskara, just because of the nature of their bonuses and how you want to play them. I think you'll favour larger Titans.
True, but if you look at like possibly one of the better close combat maniples, the Ferox, 3 Warhounds within that as well. So, okay, you're not going fully down the route of close combat with the addition of the 3 Warhounds, but you would effectively still have that within the Reavers, and a little bit of a bonus possibly to those more manoeuvrable Titans, which maybe is a little bit more of a risk of pushing them. But
I mean, when you watch the you should watch the battle report, you'll see it just gets used every turn.
Yeah,
and
you're never not going to use it.
It will get you out of scrapes. It will.
A reliably 9-inch moving Reaver Titan is very, very handy. It's very, very good. I do like it as a trait. Granted, it's only once per round and it's only a single Titan, but that's often enough. You can couple that in ways that we've already mentioned and ways that you'll see in the battle report that means that you can really kind of maximise that
manoeuvrability.
So yeah, good trait. Always useful. You're going to use it pretty much every turn. Can't say anything fairer about that, really. The next one is Bullish. Beneath the caustic seas of their homeworld, Impalers Titans were often forced to fight their prey face to face, leading to a culture of direct conflict far beyond that of most other Titan Legios. When making attacks as part of a charge order, a Legio Laniaskara Titan may make smash attacks and one other attack with a weapon with the melee trait. The smash attack does not benefit from the additional dice from the charge order.
I mean, this goes back to what I was saying about they rely on getting their charges off. If you're not charging, this doesn't come into play.
Yeah.
But when it does come into play,
it's extra dice at the end of the dice.
Yeah.
If you're getting a 9-inch charge off with a chain fist, for instance, you're talking 6 dice.
It's more than enough dice.
Yeah, and then you're getting your smash attack as well. And on a Reaver Titan, a smash attack is a strength 9 hits.
It's as good as the fist.
Yeah. Granted, you're not getting any bonuses to hits, so unless you're in a Ferox, you're probably not going to be hitting on particularly low numbers. But certainly when you put it in a Ferox, being able to, on a Reaver Titan, for instance, you're going to be getting your Chain Fist on 3s, and then you're going to be getting D3... you're going to be getting your Chain Fist on 2s, and then your smash attacks, D3 of those on 3s. That's a lot of extra potential damage, potentially up to 50% additional damage on the charge that you wouldn't have had before with a Reaver.
Yeah. Someone will pull it off on a Warlord as well once. Yeah. And that will just be game over for whatever.
Oh, yeah. That's what? Strength 11?
It's just an instant kill.
Yeah. It's, like you say, it's situational to charge attacks. However, it makes people think twice about getting within charge range of anything. Even like I say, the slower Titans.
Even putting on a Warhound is.
Well, you're not getting anything but any bonus on the Warhound because they don't have any melee weapons.
Oh, that's true.
So it's only really the Reaver, I think, and the Warlord, which is and I suppose actually the Warmaster Iconoclast. Can you imagine the 4-inch range desolated chainsaws?
Yeah, true.
Although, saying that, you still need to be within an inch. So, the smash attack is only going to reach as long as you're within that basically nearly base-to-base contact or within an inch. But, yeah, great. Really good, really interesting. It doesn't kind of have the same punch that you will get from a Reaver. From the Vulpa, for instance, which is adding greater strength to melee weapons. But what it does do is, if you coupled that, for instance, with organic protrusions, you're guaranteeing additional. What is it? That's the one I believe where you get like 3 automatic 3, isn't it?
Automatic 3. Yeah.
So yeah, great, really good.
There are some really interesting builds you can.
Yeah, it's a build around, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's certainly maniples which won't take advantage of that, unlike direct measures, which is, that's going to be useful in any maniple you take. I think bullish really is. You're only going to get the most out of bullish if you're taking Titans with close combat weapons already.
Yeah. And you're getting charges off of them.
Yeah. But it's nice. It's a nice little trait. Bit of a build around, but just adds that extra little bit of punch.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't normally have.
And at one time you do pull it off and hit your opponent's Titan and completely tear it to pieces, it's just going to be...
Well, the amount of times as well where I charge a lot. I'm quite used to melee combat with my Gryphonicus. And the amount of times that you charge and you nearly kill your opponent.
Yes. And just those extra couple of attacks would have been
it's
nice.
I often rely on things like Reckless Maverick with Gryphonicus just to get that extra activation, just to finish that Titan off. But yeah, often it comes down to maybe just if you just got 1 or 2 extra hits, even if it was just direct, that would be enough to take the Titan off the battlefield. And it's nice having that up your sleeve. I think it would probably take people by surprise as well.
Yeah, it will.
Okay, so let's have a look at. So they have a stratagem, and they also have some war gear as well.
Do you want me to say the stratagem?
Absolutely, yeah. Give me a rest.
Their Legio specific stratagem is called Heedless Charge, and it's 1 stratagem point. And the wording is contrary to the prescribed dictates of the Collegia Titanica, the use of close quarters armaments such as chain fists and power claws was the norm amongst the Titans of Legio Laniaskara. A favoured tactic of the Impalers was to unleash a spearhead of Reaver Titans armed with short-range weapons upon enemy fortifications, battering down the walls and shattering all attempts to counterattack. This stratagem can be purchased by any Legio Laniaskara player. Play this stratagem at the start of any strategy phase. For the remainder of the phase, any friendly Legio Laniaskara Titan can be issued a charge order without the need to make a command check. So it's across the board free charge orders.
For one stratagem point.
For one stratagem point.
Yeah.
And considering how much these guys rely on getting the charge off, it's just a fantastic.
I think you compare this to is it Bloodthirsty? These stratagem.
Yeah, which is 2.
I think that's 2 stratagem points. Yeah, you get the free charge, but you also get
plus 2
to
the charge
hit.
order. I think
it's plus 2 on hit rolls.
Oh.
Well, either way, it helps you with your charge, and you're also getting it. But it's also twice the price. I think for one stratagem point, this is really nice. I mean, this basically becomes a little bit, I guess, moot if you were to take some of the mutations, like Overwhelming Rage, which allows you to charge for free.
Yeah.
So it's not quite so useful. Well, it's not useful at all if that's the direction that you're going for your corrupted Titans. But on your non-corrupted Titans, if you're choosing to run a regular, uncorrupted, reliable Laniaskara force, then yeah, like the amount of times that games can be lost because you've not been able to get that charge order off that you needed to at the pivotal moments in the game, like having a 1-point stratagem up your sleeve, you know, it's you don't mind if you don't use it.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, they actually trump,
and if you got it,
yeah,
then it's...
they trump Volpa in that sense with that stratagem. I think it makes up for their lack of other bonuses. I think. Yeah, it's just. I think just to be able to go turn 2. Yeah.
I think other people in the room who are sat just off camera would probably argue with that.
A little bit.
A little bit.
You would love that stratagem.
We'll wait for the Volpa episode.
Yeah.
That's Johnny, our we'll call him a producer, shall we?
Yeah.
He's and also our chief editor for our battle reports, who helps us now film the video. We do it in his man cave, which is the beautiful set which you would see if you're on the video podcast. But yeah, he is a diehard Volpa fan. If you're watching as well on the podcast, you'll be able to see some of his Volpa Titans up in the top corner. And I think what Oliver's just said accounts for fighting words.
Yeah, let's do it.
So there might have to be a...
How many hours you got now?
Gonna have to throw down at some point. But yeah, it's a good strat. It's well pointed. I don't think they need any additional bonuses than that. Just having...
if that was 2 points, it'd still be a bargain. It'd still be worth it.
Yeah, and it's not even in the mana pool, is it? It's just all Legio Laniaskara Titans.
Yep.
So again, couple this with an Iconoclast in a bigger game, and free charge on an Iconoclast.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very nice. Very a nice little strat to have up your sleeve, and for 1 point, it doesn't matter if it doesn't get used if the circumstances don't align.
And often it doesn't get used.
yeah, absolutely. Was that the one that you had at the end of?
Yeah.
Still not used
it.
Not going to give away any other spoilers than that, but there was one lonesome card which was
it's hard to get charges up in Titanicus, even when they're free orders. It's hard to set them up.
But I think Laniaskara do it well because you're minimising the amount of dice that you're rolling to get those charge orders
exactly.
off.
You're skipping a whole stage of pulling off a charge. Because
for most people, if you want to charge, probably you're full striding on the first turn, maybe depending on the deployment. Let's just say it's a normal line of battle deployment, right? And your goal is that you want to charge on turn 2. You're going to full stride in turn 1, which means that you're going to need, assuming it's not your Princeps Seniores, on a Reaver Titan, you've got to pass a 4 up for that first one there. You're probably going to want to push, and obviously every time that you push, you're potentially, you might roll yourself a Machine Spirit, and you then got more dice that you have to pass on to get through. And then when you've got to then get close to your target and got to line that all up, and then you've got to pass that charge order, and then you've got to roll dice to hit them and hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that even if you took one Reaver and the job of that one Reaver was to get in combat,
the chance there's so many places that can fall down.
Well,
so many weak links in that. Everything
by
you've got
turn 2
put together.
By turn 2 with these rules, you would pass the 4 up for the charge, right? Of which there's stratagems that you can take to help with that if you wanted to anyway. But just say normally you go past that order to start with. You've then got your unbridled hatred ability that traitors can take, which adds 2 inches to your movement.
Yep.
And bonuses to hit in close combat. And you're really only rolling 1 push if you wanted that second push in the full stride, and then everything else is 2 dice rolls for the full stride order and the push order, instead of order, push, order, push, hit. It's a considerable amount of.
And then if you do pull it off, Laniaskara hit harder.
Yeah.
Than other legios.
Yeah, it's very good. Again, it's another build around. If you don't want to charge with them, to be honest, if you don't want to charge with them, you're probably taking the wrong legio.
Yeah, choose another legio if you don't want to charge.
Yeah, I think that they are more versatile than Vulpa, but they still do the close combat thing very nicely. Do you want to read through the last the war gear option?
So the war gear is Mordantized Ceramite. It's the most notable achievement of Valia Maximal was their specialised knowledge in the development of treated alloy plating that proved highly resistant to plasma burns and corrosive substances. So any Legio Laniaskara Titan may be upgraded with Mordantized Ceramite for 10 points. The effect of that is you subtract 1 from the result of all armour rolls made for an attack by a weapon with the maximal fire trait against a Titan with this upgrade. This negative modifier is applied even if the attacking unit is not using the maximal fire trait to increase its weapon's strength. I'm going to skip it.
Not one for you?
It's 10 points. It's super cheap. But it's only against maximal fire weapons. I think it would be more effective, and I'd be more tempted to take it against fusion if it took.
Did it not used to be
now,
against
I
fusion?
think that might have been one of the ones that changed between the supplement and the Traitor's book in the wording slightly. Maybe. I haven't got it to hand.
No, I don't have the old book either. But I seem to remember that it used to be fusion and maximal fire as well. But maybe I'm wrong.
I just think because it specifies one type of weapon, I mean, in the list I played against you today, that wouldn't have come into effect. There is no maximal fire weapons.
No.
You are going to come across lists where that's not applicable. You might come across the odd list where there's a few Sun Furies out there, a few Plasma Blast Guns and Warhounds, and that'll be great. But it is only one.
I mean, you are if you are like, let's be honest, right? The maximal fire is common,
really common.
across most, unless you hit Reaver heavy lists. Like both of the lists we took today, there was no maximal fire amongst them. But what it would do is it would mean that the the stratagem of overcharged cannon and what's the other one? Experimental weapon. Would be slightly less effective if somebody took that against you. Obviously, the plasma blast gun is fairly common. It is a common one that people take, and the not the suzerain, the Sun Fury Warlord plasma is fairly common as well. But to your point, is it common enough that you take it? I wouldn't take this at a tournament. If I knew what my opponent was taking, and it was me playing you, and you knew that I was taking this, I might take it specifically against one person. But would you take that over, say, Bastion Shielding?
I think there's other upgrades, there's other war gear, and I definitely wouldn't build around it or rely on it at all. I just think a negative one. I mean, it's okay. It's too situational for me to be useful.
Yeah, it'd be strength 9 plasma guns,
Hmm.
or strength 7 plasma guns if they were firing without the maximal fire trait. And that doesn't, certainly in the games I play, that doesn't happen often. That if people are maximal firing, it's because they got through your armor.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're not using it against you when your shields are up, because strength 8 or strength 7 with your shields up means nothing.
I mean, what it does do is it takes down, I guess, any track benefits. So if there's +1 already on that track, it becomes 0.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, yeah, once in a dozen times, it's going to save your Titan from destruction.
Yeah, and strength 9 is a bit of a weird kind of strength. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I think that the Mori underperforms a little bit, is the difference between strength 9 and strength 10 feels to be quite a lot. Often it means the difference between a devastating hit and a critical. Just pushing those criticals, making them slightly harder to get, just for for one. So, against the right opponent, I think, if you were purposefully going out of your way to build a list to combat what they were taking, it's well pointed, at least. 10 points is not bad. You could take it on one. You could take it on your charging Reaver, who's going to be the one Reaver that you're sending up ahead. But
I mean, if it was 10 points and it affected all of your Titans, I'd take it.
Well, you're never gonna see that.
You've got to put it on that one Titan, and that one Titan's got to be the one that's targeted by that plasma weaponry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it would have to go on a distraction Reaver or something like that, which is gonna draw heat. I think I'm with you. Like, points wise, it's fine, but I don't think I would ever see that kind of in a kind of open event or tournament format where you didn't know who you were playing against. Yeah,
definitely.
I'm going to definitely check that though and see if that has. I think that's changed. I want to say something is lurking in the back of my head that it also used to affect Fusion when it first came out. When did this first come out? Was it? It was the Crucible of Retribution.
Crucible of Retribution, yeah.
Yeah. So the last book that was released before the Loyalists. Is that right?
I believe so.
It's around about October, November in 2020, I think. So, those are the basic traits and stratagems. Like I say, the traits, I think, are fairly strong. Their stratagem...
The traits are great, yeah. The stratagem's fantastic.
Stratagem's good.
War gear is painfully average.
Just a very meh. But certainly when you look at the Legio rules here and compare them to other Legios, it's... Yeah, they've got a good mix, I think. There's nothing on here which I would say is bad.
No.
Or pointless. Like, there's a lot of stuff on here that's got a lot of use. Personal traits. So they have the usual 3. This first one, and I didn't know this until earlier on today, they share with Vulpa as well, and that is cruel. The Princeps has no pity for weaklings. Unworthy foes are swiftly crushed underfoot with little thought given to honour or mercy. When making attacks against units with a scale of 5 or lower, increase the strength of the hits by 2. Now again, I think this is one where if you were picking your traits and you knew who you were facing against, can be good. If you were facing a knight household and you were picking your traits,
or a list with 2 units of knights,
or a list like mine with 2 units of knights, right? It's if you were rolling in most games the D3 and you got this, you may well end up with a trait which you are going to get no use out of.
If you're picking and you know your opponent's force and it's knight heavy, getting +2 against those knights is going to shift their iron shield save. From 4+ to 5+.
Well, it means that even laser blasters are ignoring knights, ignoring Cerastus Lancers saves on a 10.
True. Yeah.
Which is decent. It's
makes lasers very good against knights.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a good use. It is very, very good against knights. Against a household, very, very good against a household. But situational.
Yeah.
Now you used that earlier on in our battle.
I did. I took it on.
Obviously, it's not really a spoiler, but there was 2 units of knights. If you're watching, you can see them laid out here in front of you. So you knew they were going to be a threat. Picked it, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It worked, but against a lot of titans, a lot of legios and maniples that you will see out there, it may not come into play if you were having to roll.
Yeah.
If you couldn't avoid taking it.
I think when it does come into play, though, you're gonna level up +2.
It's a good one to have if you're picking. It's a good one to have up your sleeve and go, okay, this game, that one, please.
Yeah.
That helps. But let's move on to Titan Killer. So the Princeps has long studied the blows needed to slay a Titan, believing them the ultimate foe to face. The Warmaster's betrayal has given them the chance to put such knowledge to the test. Once per round, the Princeps may re-roll all armor rolls of a 1 for an attack made against an enemy Titan.
So it essentially gives
Ordnance.
Gives them ordnance for the round.
Yeah. It's once per round,
Mm-hmm.
which is good. It's re-rolling 1s, which is good. It's not utterly broken.
No. If you've got, say, like I have on my Warbringers, I've got a Volcano and a Quake, and you're only rolling 1 dice.
Yes.
Or 2 if you get a direct hit, 1 for a glancing hit, and you roll a 1, it can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Any kind of re-roll is going to be good. Getting ordnance across your Titan's weapons is a good one.
It's only on the 1 dice roll, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's once per round, so it'd be that you use it on your first fire, or would you use it in the combat phase? Probably in the combat phase. But like you say, it's almost like just that little bit of a cherry on top, knowing that you can kind of pick up that extra dice and get that potential extra bit of damage, especially in those situations where you need more than a 1 to do damage. And like you say, on those blast weapons where you're only getting 2 dice, when you hit with a hole over it, there's nothing worse than rolling a 1 and a something.
Yeah,
or worse,
like
a double 1.
A warlord with a volcano cannon, and you only get that 1 chance.
Yeah, or God forbid if you had a quake cannon and you rolled a double 1 on your armor roll. You could pick both of those up and re-roll them again.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
That would have been nice.
That would have been very nice.
So yeah, it's nice. It's got some use.
Yeah,
it'll always be useful.
I think I'd take Titan Killer over Crawl if you weren't going to get the mileage out of Crawl.
Yeah. And then the last one as well.
Yeah, Heedless Rage. So in battle, the Princeps is often consumed by rage and heedless of their own pain. Once per round, the Princeps may make an attack with a disabled weapon with the melee trait. Once the effects of the attack have been resolved, the Princeps Titan suffers a single strength 10 hit to the body. So if someone's pinked off your melee weapon,
which is likely, let's be honest.
You still get a second shot with it.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's quite a hefty negative on this.
A single strength 10 hit to the body in an undamaged Titan.
So minimum damage it's going to cause you is 12. But it's very quickly going to go up into devastating or worse, and potentially cause you a critical.
But I think if you're in combat anyway, you're going to be taking return hits.
Yes, it depends, I suppose, what you're in combat with. And because if they don't have any melee weapons to hit back and they're only using smash attacks against you, then there's probably a bit of survivability in there. But like you say, I think it's a common tactic to prevent charges by
disabling
the weapon.
Yeah. And to just be able to ignore that disabled weapon.
Yeah. And
use it. I think it's great. It's not always going to come up. You may play games and games and games where it wouldn't come up, but at one time it does. It's going to be sweet.
Yeah.
It's going to be useful.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think I would like it more maybe if it wasn't on the body, because the body is where you can start VSG burnout and your reactor leak. Some quite nasty things in there which can drop your shields.
The wording of it, like the Princeps is consumed by rage. It's almost like they don't care about their own suffering.
Just kind of flinging this kind of disabled arm, like, and somebody beating them with a wet end.
I like it. It's nice, but personally I wouldn't take it over the other two. But if I rolled it and it came up, great.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? If you were rolling it, the thing is that you've got two good ones, or rather ones with good utility in there, but then you've got that one cruel, which is potentially, if you were rolling, something you're never going to get a use out of in the game. So tricky one now. I think overall, I've seen
on average they're above average.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're good traits.
I would agree. Definitely above average. There's nothing like I look at this and there's no nothing in there like I've seen on, say, the Gryphonicus personal traits, which maybe like are
one overpowered
OTT.
one, and then
but they're fine. Would I take those over if I was rolling? Would I roll on this table or would I roll on the D6 rulebook table?
I'd always go for flavour over rules and roll on the Legio specific ones personally, but that's just.
I think that the D6 ones obviously are a little bit more reliable and generally always will have some utility to them, but
less fun though.
Yeah. I think if you're picking, definitely some good ones in here. If you're rolling, it might be a bit of a gamble.
I can see myself using all three at some point, whereas with other Legios I'll only use Frostalax. They'll be my go-to one I'll always use.
Yeah. So that's the rules. What mana pools have you kind of thought of with these guys? I mean, there's a few which certainly stick out in my mind, but what are you thinking?
I've gone with a Ruptura mana pool, mainly because I wanted to get a lot of Reavers in the mana pool, but I didn't want to go full Corsair. With the Ossidax, that's my Corsair mana pool, with some Knights mixed in, obviously. I wanted to use the Warbringer. It's just a good looking mana pool. I like it. It's quite heavy. I'm still learning to use the Warbringers. I think they're a bit of a kind of, people either love them or hate them. To try and get the best out of them, it is difficult because they kind of fall in this, like we mentioned earlier, they fall into this weird category. They're not quite one thing and they're not quite another.
Yeah, they don't quite have like the staying power of a warlord, but they don't quite have the firepower of a warlord. Exactly. They don't quite have the manoeuvrability of the Reaver or the role that a Reaver has, which is, quite versatile.
But the main reason I went for the Ruptura is because you get an additional free push on one of your Reavers. So along the side Laniaskara's trait, with the Maniple trait, 2 of the 3 Reavers are getting free pushes every turn.
Well, it doesn't even have to be the Reavers, of course.
It doesn't have to be the Reavers.
Yeah.
I went into this thinking I'm just going to be pushing the Reavers in the game, ends up push the Warbringers a couple of times for various reasons.
Yeah.
So, being able to ignore 2 power to locomotive rolls is great. Just ignoring them and moving 9 inches or 11 inches.
And in the off chance that you cause some catastrophic damage with the Warbringers, you get that full move, don't you?
That's the less kind of likely side of that mana pool. If you do cause catastrophic damage with one of the Warbringers, all of your Reavers get a free move. Just a free move. I mean,
game of manoeuvre.
It's not going to happen often. Well, it may happen often.
When it happens,
and when it happens, you may not need it because your Reaver's already in a good position. It's not the main reason I took the mana pool. The main reason is the free push. That's kind of more of a bonus. If it happens, great. If it doesn't,
I guess it's going to be remembering to trigger it when it happens.
It will be. I'm probably going to rely on my opponent going, "Didn't you have another mana pool?"
Thing to do there. Yeah. It's I like the Ruptura. I know like some people kind of don't really see what the point of it is, and I can kind of understand that. And I think in a lot of Legios, it is in a bit of a weird place. But I do like it in the Laniaskara to the exact point that you made.
And it fits really well into 1750 as well as a full mana pool, full 5 Reaver mana pool.
Yeah. It's just getting the most out of. It's almost like you kind of you do have to make your Reavers do a lot of the work. and the Warbringers have to be backing them up, have to be kind of supporting them. Trying to. I know when we played a test game against each other earlier on in the week, and you'd gone full in for the melee. Like everything was like double melee.
I went 5 chain fists and 1 power fist on 3 reavers.
Yeah,
and yes,
I think
it takes a certain special kind of someone to want to do that.
Yeah, it was. I think the problem that you were having was the lack of shield stripping, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because even with the Warbringers, like you weren't able to really capitalise with the Quake because you weren't dropping shields.
Yeah, I can see why people do it, but I wouldn't do it in a Ruptura. I'd go full Corsair if you were going to do all combat reavers. Because, like you said, the Warbringers just can't strip shields.
Yeah.
I even put one of them with a double Gatling, and still wasn't. So effectively, it takes the Quake cannon out of the game.
Yes. Yeah, it's you need to be dropping those shields, getting the most out of your Quake. They almost need to be lobbing these things over the top, and I think in some respects with the Ruptura, like the kind of bum rushing ahead with the full stride is maybe not the way to go with them. Like you want to almost be like advancing, trying to get some shields down, and then just putting everything into that.
Well, it actually says in the fluff that their favoured loadout was the chain fist and the melter cannon, so they're short range assault titans. So that's what I've gone with across the 3 reavers, so they can advance a little bit more slowly. Like you said, allow the Warbringers to act as fire support.
Yeah. And then that when you are close enough, or if they get a little bit too close, and you can pop
just
that charge.
Drop the charge order and off you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a few games to get used to it and get the most out of it. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a good challenge.
I think that the obvious other honourable mentions I think to make for these would be obviously the Ferox.
Yes, very much so.
That there isn't a better mana pool for close combat. 2 minimum Feroxes.
2 minimum Feroxes would be
good.
Amazing, yeah.
I don't know if you could fit anything, or rather a full Ferox, or maybe even a slightly not quite full Ferox with 2 Reavers, 2 Warhounds, and something supporting maybe. The Ferox does close combat better than any, and even the Warhounds, are good within 2 inches with their ability to just, like we were saying, plink off weapons and stuff like that from your opponent if they're not paying attention, and letting them Warhounds get that close. But the Corsair as well.
Corsair, absolutely.
That manoeuvrability, also having the free pushes with the Corsair, coupled with the Reavers, and having maybe 1 or 2 with a close combat weapon and a few more backing them up, sort of advancing behind. That as well would work really, really nicely, I think. I think I was kind of thinking, what about some of the heavier mana pools like Extergamus or Fortis? And I certainly think with Fortis, I think you can get some nice loadouts on there and be quite punishing with the damage, but then you're not capitalising on the manoeuvre aspects of the rules.
I think they favour Reavers, just the rules favour Reavers. Just for the fact that they can carry that assault weapon along with some good shield stripping weapons and the melter cannon.
An Axiom might do well, because you could take your 2 Reavers, your 2 Warhounds, and your Warlords. That's the word I'm looking for. And then you can kit out your Reavers for close combat and have the Warhounds kind of like supporting, harassing the flanks, and you've got a big Warlord in the middle just kind of like laying down thick firepower. Maybe the Warlord is the one capitalising using the free push, so it's getting those 6 inches reliably.
Free push and a decent warp displacement roll, and suddenly you've got a Warlord up there on a free charge order.
Yeah.
I think, it's just personal taste, really. Again, it goes back to like painting's personal taste. It's which Titans you want to paint, you want to build, you want to buy and collect, and how you want to run that. I mean, they do one thing very well, so it's just building around that one thing.
Have you given any thought to, if you were running them corrupted, how you would change them?
I haven't actually. thing is with Legio Laniaskara, I don't see them as traitors as such.
Interesting.
They're kind of traitors by circumstance. So they had a very successful empire of their own. They'd already defeated one xeno-transhuman empire to expand their systems. They came across the Imperium and decided to meet them with a show of force, not knowing anything about the Imperium, not realising that the Imperium wasn't just 24 star systems and a decent forge rod. It was much, much bigger than that. When they came across the expeditionary fleet, learned very quickly that the Imperium doesn't respond well to shows of force. So
gun ports open. No.
So I mean, really, all they wanted was to govern themselves, and they didn't want any outside external influence. So when they came across the Imperium, they were just like, nope, no thanks, not interested. So they weren't really traitors in the sense that they ever turned on the Imperium. They were kind of beaten back into submission.
Kind of almost Black Shieldy.
Yeah, almost. I would have liked to have seen them as Black Shields, because the only reason they're classed as traitors is because they just out and out rejected the Imperium to begin with. Bit like Titanicus, in that they just wanted independence. They just wanted to be their own. They just wanted to run themselves. We're doing okay, thanks. We don't need your help. And when the Warmaster turned on the Imperium, that was just the excuse they needed to be like
opportunity.
Yeah, we're all over that. So,
and I know as well from a rules perspective, like I can kind of understand as well, because there are certain things, like some of the abilities which Laniaskara have, if you corrupted them, they kind of already have with their own traits, like the free pushes, like the free charges. Granted, it's for one stratagem point, but I think the obvious upgrade, like mutation, would be, your overwhelming rage and your
singular purpose as well.
Singular purpose. That's the upgrade, is it not?
No, when you choose.
That's
possibly an
upgrade. That's the upgrade where you choose the one you want. Yeah, but the organic protrusions obviously leans in very nicely with the.
And we mentioned the armor spikes as well.
Well, those were the ones I was convinced was in there, but weren't.
No.
They're the ones which, if they were custom Legio, they'd be great to have the armor spikes. But they, the preternatural grace, you kind of don't necessarily need because of the free push, like the overwhelming rage. Granted, you got some nice bonuses in there. But I don't know.
Personally, I don't think they benefit that much from being corrupted. Also, with the fluff, I think they get beaten back pretty heavily by the Morning Stars, Legio Astroman. They get beaten back to their home world and subdued. And from there, I don't see them being a widespread force across the galaxy to be around long enough to become corrupted. Right. They're put back in their box fairly early on in the heresy. So I kind of like them non-corrupted.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's some combinations that you could make with them.
I mean, they're definitely not as gribbly as Volpa. I don't think they go full.
Writhing carapace on a Warbringer. Could you convert? Does that mean?
I mean, you're paying for the volcano cannon.
Because it has to be
because you have to pay for the most expensive weapon.
Yeah.
And then, would you then want to use the quake cannon? There's going to be a few situations where it might be advantageous, but
against knights probably.
Against knights.
But yeah, no, you make a point. Like 55 points compared to 20 is obviously much harder to fit in a 1750 kind of standard list. But yeah, I think that there's a few on there. Chitinous Carapace, I think, would stack nicely with that Princeps trait, where you're taking a strength 10 hit to the body, but who cares? I've got Chitinous Carapace. I've got an extra, is it -2 to the body, so that becomes a strength 8. So that's not quite so bad at that point. That might stack quite nicely. But I like you. I kind of think I like Laniaskara as uncorrupted. I think that there are other Legios which do corrupted Titans possibly better.
Yeah,
I think if you want a close combat Legio which is Corrupted Vulper is the obvious one.
The
You know,
undisputed champions of gribbiness.
absolutely, yeah, because they've already got some strong rules, and then you add on the extra things that Laniaskara kind of have in their base set. But that's not to say that there is always going to be options out there to
Always.
corrupt them.
I mean, again, do what you want, do your own thing.
Yeah. It's they do seem to have. It's nice to have the options, and I think that the traitor sides do have a few more options than Loyalist Legios. How did you paint your Laniaskara?
It's actually super simple. So the red is just Mephiston red, Evil Sun scarlet, and Trollslayer orange mixed in.
I was going to say, because looking at them in the flesh, kind of they do look quite obviously red, but they do look orangey.
Yeah. So I just brought the red down a little bit with some orange. The turquoise is actually just Vallejo. I can't remember which turquoise it is. If you go on the Goonhammer Laniaskara, they're featured on there, and my painting list is on there, and I list the paints I use. But it's just one Vallejo paint and then weathered with burnt umber oil paint, which changes the colour of the turquoise completely from quite a bright blue to a very vibrant turquoise. It just gives it that brown sheen. Good
old burnt umber oil paint.
Can't go wrong.
No,
it's
absolutely.
Absolute staple of any paint box, should be. And that honestly is pretty much it. They're quite simple. I used the transfers you'll be able to see on Instagram a lot closer. It was one of the marks, the Heresy Mark plastic box sets, Marines 10 in a box. It comes with Space Wolf transfers and Thousand Suns
is
transfers.
That the Mark 3?
Mark 3 or Mark 4. One of them. Anyway, the transfers come in there, and I use the script from that down the carapaces just to break up the turquoise a little bit.
Yeah, it looks
because it was
really
a big
nice.
block colour.
Yeah, and it's very easy to go over the top with transfers, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, and then just chuck a bit of weathering on, and off you go. Which is one of the reasons I was able to finish them in time, because it's quite a simple scheme.
How many hours did you spend on the chevrons?
The chevrons took as long as the rest of it all put together. You just get the smallest brush you can find, bit of Dark Reaper, bit of Abaddon Black, and just freehand. But there's other ways of doing that if you're not confident, not comfortable doing that. And it's not for everyone, but it's nice. It's a nice touch. They look great.
You don't need to put the chevrons on.
No, of course not. Yeah, I mean the chevrons are just they hark back to the techno tribes. I see them as like tribal tattoos, and they've carried those forward because they're the people that crew the Titans. Yeah, and they've just carried that forward, the tribal tattoos, onto their Titans. So it's just that look.
But I guess if that's the one thing putting you off, then there's no reason
just
why
pick
you
another
need
tribal
to
tattoo. It's easy to paint. Yeah, just anything, any repetitive tribal pattern will look great on the shoulder pads, and it's a nice flat open panel to work with. It's not, you're not worried about too many curves and corners on it. So
absolutely, yeah. Okay, so that is Legio Laniaskara. Hopefully that's been enlightening. If you have any thoughts or you run them yourself, do let us know. Reach out, drop us a few notes.
Yeah, let us know.
See if you tell us if you agree really, or if there's anything that you kind of think that. I think Oliver's definitely going to be open to more advice, more tips and tactics on how to run a Laniaskara. It's his Legio.
Maybe I'm doing them all wrong.
Maybe you're doing them all wrong. I don't think you are. I think you're fairly close. I think it's another one of those Legios you don't see often enough on the table. I know that Mr. Bling himself, Johnny Core, is currently trying to go.
Johnny is currently putting them together.
He is, yeah.
They are looking unbelievable.
So many close combat weapons.
All of the close combat weapons.
All the pain. So I'm sure you'll see some updates from him I think he has already posted a couple of kind of.
He did a late night. I've just stuck these together shot the other night. Yeah.
But okay, we're going to take a short break now. We're going to just let Johnny take you through his the kind of things that Battle Bling offer, and then we are going to be back and we're going to answer a couple of Princeps questions in part 2. So do stick around and we'll speak to you very soon.
Princeps, Johnny Core from the Battle Bling store here for you, and there's a small chance we've not met.
Of the show today, we're going to take a few listeners' questions. It's been a while since we actually had the time to add some of these, so they've been kind of backing up a little bit. So we picked a couple of our favourites from the suggestions over the last month or so, and figured we would kind of like come around to giving our opinions on them. So all of these were sent in from the guys on our Discord server. It's the best place to drop us a note. We have a dedicated channel for listeners' questions. You can also ping me directly through that. It's much quicker, much easier than it would be if you were dropping us an email or messaging me on Instagram, because for some reason my Instagram messages don't actually seem to tell me when I've got messages. I don't know if that's just me.
No, mine are fine.
No, yeah. I come in and I've the things from like a week ago, but like my phone hasn't told me that I've got anything waiting. So yeah, if you do have any questions, that's probably the best way to do it. And the link for that will be in the description. I treat it kind of like a bit of a WhatsApp. I think I speak to people more through Discord than I do through WhatsApp these days.
It's quite good for questions, rules queries especially. It gets a good debate going and a conversation about
debates. We used to have a rules arguments channel, which we changed to rules discussions because we didn't want to encourage the wrong kind of behaviour. But yeah, that's one of the things about Titanicus is that there are quite a few rules which are a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah, a little bit grey area. So you can tell a lot of people will play a game in an evening, get home and be like, well, my opponent did this on the Discord, and say, what's everyone else doing? And then everyone will weigh in with, and then eventually, usually you come to a balanced outcome and how it should be interpreted or how we think it should be.
And the thing is you want everyone to approach it with an open mind as well. Like I've always been of the opinion that I could be sure that I'm correct, but if I can be proven wrong, but with examples based in the rule, then that's the best way to approach it. And like, okay, fine, fair enough. Like sometimes the way that the rule book is laid out, for instance, like what isn't obvious on the page where the rule is, there might be an example of a similar scenario which shows you how to interpret the rules elsewhere. We kind of desperately need a 1.5 episode, edition, I think, of Titanicus soon, or certainly another FAQ, because it's been a little bit of a long time since the last one. I think a year ago, it was March, wasn't it, last year, when the Loyalist book came out, that we last had an FAQ.
There's still a few things that divide the Discord channel and people aren't in agreement.
Yeah, and the meta, I think it all depends on your local meta as well, because we noticed it at Beachhead. Like the guys who play in Bournemouth, like, there were certain things which they interpreted different from the guys in London, and you can kind of see both points because you can read these rules in the way that they could be interpreted in both ways. But there's certainly, if anybody from Games Workshop is listening on the FAQ team and wants some suggestions as to what to add to the next pack, then I'm sure we can provide some suggestions.
Just clarification on a few things, a few key points would be good.
Yeah, but ultimately, obviously, to have a rule set where it's always edge cases. Mm-hmm. Like for the most part, the rules are pretty robust.
Oh, they're fantastic rules. Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about all these codexes interacting with each other and stuff like you would do in 40k or the other games. So anyway, back on track. Some Princeps questions. So there was a couple which we really wanted to answer this show. However, we are going to be doing an episode very shortly, which is going to be kind of like our anniversary edition of an episode that we did last year, which was all about getting started in 2021. Now that we're doing a battle report on the show as well, we wanted to kind of repeat this and actually have a medium to show people, like, where does your money get you? So we're planning on doing a bit of a getting started in 2022 episode, maybe the next episode, or certainly in the very near future. So there was a couple of questions in particular. Just shout out to Grimbari and Phil was asking about like where do you start, and originally I was going to answer this on this show, but I'm going to park that and I'm going to save that for that show when we can actually kind of show people. As much as talk about it. I think that'd be very relevant. But thank you very much for your question anyway, Phil. Sorry, we're not answering
It will
today.
get answered.
Yeah, but yeah, it definitely will be for the next one. So Russ H, he asked us, should Vortex make a return to counter powerful mutated Traitor Titans? And if so, what, if any, limits should be applied to the numbers it can be taken? Now, I was very, very pro reintroducing Vortex. In my head, I think more than one is too many and could be abused. And mostly the reason I kind of thought that it needed to come back was that I had this perception in my head that, like a lot of people, corrupted Titans were like they were the new hotness, but also they were very strong, provided some really good buffs. And I'm not going to say that they break the game, because I don't think they do break the game, but I honestly thought that the balance of power had swung in favour of the traitors. But looking at Beachheads and looking at some of the games that we've played recently with Corrupted Titans, I'm not sure that that's the case. Sure, you can make some fairly nasty combos with Corrupted Titans,
But there are some fairly nasty consequences.
exactly. Yeah, there's some big
And
downsides.
they're expensive.
And when it works,
Oh.
I'm sure it works really, really well, and it will work really, really well.
Not
But I
every
think that all it takes is for a few unlucky dice rolls, and I think that can flip it on its head. And excuse me, there is some good Legio rules within the Loyalist abilities, Loyalist Legios, and I didn't see anybody at Beachhead complaining about that they were up against traitors and they couldn't have access to Vortex. But also the way that the kind of scoring went and the points went, they didn't really seem to need it. The Loyalists did very, very well. But I do think this often comes down to player ability. But I don't think that then they're missing in the game at
I
the
just
moment.
think anything that's so powerful that it can almost take the fun aspect out of facing it is too powerful. Is it not required? I don't think they're. I wouldn't like to see them being used again.
I think that with Vortex, it's fine if you're just running out of the book Legios with maybe one Vortex. I think that, in my personal opinion, I'm keeping them banned from our events because I don't want to ban or restrict custom Legio, Crusade Legios anymore. I think that there are stratagems within the custom Legio rules which allow you to kind of like have an opening salvo in the strategy phase, which coupled with a Vortex missile are can leave people with a very bad taste in the back of their mouth.
It's not fun to face. It's not fun.
And so you do have to have a little bit of consideration to kind of like the Crusade Legios, which can be built in a way that they are OP. It's simple as really.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is like you look at the Crusade Legios and people are generally drawn towards those traits because naturally you would be, because there are some very, very good traits in there, but it leaves you with this swathe of strong abilities which just outclasses everything that's in the books. And couple that as well with a powerful weapon like the Vortex. I know. So for me, as I stand at the moment, I would say that if you are allowing Crusade Legios, I would still keep Vortex out, or maybe restrict Crusade Legios to not allowed to be taking Vortex, but then it's more restrictions.
The problem with the question is the way it's written is should Vortex make a return to counter powerful mutated Traitor Titans? I don't think the Traitor Titans mutations are that powerful. They're very, very two-sided. They're very hit and miss. They're a lot of fun to play. They're a lot of fun to play against because when they go wrong for your opponent, it's fantastic. Yeah, to watch them go wrong, it's very entertaining. And I don't think Vortex is a counter to that.
But there's also, what's that? There is a loyalist. I forget the name, and I haven't got my loyalist book in front of me. But there is a piece of war gear that loyalists can take, which basically turns off a secondary mutation. So you can, obviously the base mutation you're not doing anything with, but I think I wish I had my book in front of me. It's not expensive. It's like 10 or 15 points, and that is a good counter for countering corrupt titans. But I don't think I'm ready to unrestrict.
No, the best counter to powerful traitor mutated titans is your opponent's bad dice rolls. They're so 50-50 that I don't think you need to counter them. You just need your opponent to not roll well. And
well, if that's the case with every game, though, isn't it?
Well, to a certain extent.
To win, you just need to roll badly.
I don't think the loyalists need a counter to the traitor mutations. They're not that game-breaking, game-changing.
No, and you already mentioned it earlier on, Oliver. Like, they're expensive. So often,
really
when you kind of look at a loyalist list versus a traitor list, a heavy corrupted traitor list is probably going to be an activation down.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably have to take a Reaver out of this mana pool to corrupt the other 4. So like you said, you're an activation down.
Talking
you're
what,
already
like
at
25 to 35 minimum, really, aren't you? If you wanted a base mutation and a secondary,
up to 50 points.
Yeah, you're probably talking a minimum of 35 points a Titan. Probably more likely 35, 40 around that mark. And at which point, 4 of those is 200 points is a Warhound Titan. But I'd be interested. I'm really keen to see what we get back from some of these other events around the world. I know that the guys up in Tyneside, they had an event recently, and the Traitors won that. That was a red v blue, which was kind of different, obviously, from our event where the Loyalists won ours. Ironically, it was the same guy who won our event that won the Tyneside. It was Stuart Oliver, who's got a question actually coming up, but he won as a Loyalist with Krytos down in Bournemouth, and then he won as a traitor with Krytos up in Tyneside. So there's the jury's still out. I don't think that corrupted Titans have broken the game to an extent where the answer is Vortex. The answer is not Vortex. There's plenty of other options, in my opinion, that are out there, and often it comes down to how you play with your Titans rather than a fancy piece of war gear.
Definitely.
That's my 2 cents anyway. So no. No, and if you really want to bring it back, 1 per battle force would be my restriction.
Play your regular opponents with Vortex and get some feedback, see what they think, see how they feel about facing it. You might find that they're okay with it, because it doesn't.
They are swinging.
It isn't too powerful.
They can be good. They can be really, really good. They can be absolutely useless. But it's another one of, in my opinion, when I've come across them and when I've seen people face off against them, it's just left a bit of a feel bad over that, because there's nothing worse than things just being deleted, and the fact that it hits you twice per round as well is often a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. But I think maybe in the future, we'll start bringing it back in again. But I'd like to see what Games Workshop does with Crusade Legios first. I'd really like an update to the Crusade Legios. I don't know if it's still published, but certainly last year the Mournival guys out in Australia had a solution to the custom Legios, the Crusade Legios, which I quite liked, which was essentially you were given 10 points, and you had 10 points to basically spend on your traits, and they had ranked each trait in points between 1 and 5. 5 being like the really strong ones, 1 point being like the not great ones, and so you could build your force.
You could have more or less powerful ones, or a couple of really
you were like
really good
maxed
ones,
out I think at 5 or something like that. I can't recall off the top of my head, but you could have, to your point, lots of fairly low level ones, or you could have 2
which
5 point
actually
super
kind of
strong
makes
ones.
sense of the game, because that's how stratagems work already. So the mechanics are already there in the game. Just reapply it to Crusade Legios.
Yeah, it would be nice to see something new in that respect from Games Workshop. I'm quite hopeful that we'll get another book this year. I'd really like to see a book come out around the time of the Direwolf, which will maybe give us a bit more fluff. It might be a campaign book, or it might be something. Maybe it will give us some more Knight Strats, because Knight Strats is another one. It's like, are we still limited to Doom of Molech? Yes, I think so. Not really sure, but that seems to be the general consensus. That's the only place which reference Knight stratagems. So more of them. Maybe a tweak to Knight rules. Maybe an update to custom legios. Like, I think all of that stuff is the stuff which was missing from the Loyalist and the Traitor book. Although obviously they published all of the rules for the Knights, so I do think that the Knight stuff is probably less likely to happen, because it would have happened then maybe. But campaign book, a few more stratagems for Knights, or a change to Knight stratagems, and some custom legios, along with maybe some maniples for the Direwolf, or something to expand Audax a little bit more. Give them another maniple or 2. That'd be great. So circling back, I think we decided no, but if you do, leave it at 1. So next up, what is? Oh, actually, I mean, like, thinking about it, before we move on, like, the other counter to Powerful Corrupted Titans is actually what we're going to go in here, and that is, if you're worried about that, Loyalists have access to the Psi Titan.
Miss the elephant in the room, the Psi Titan. Yeah.
Which increases its strength by 2 if it's fighting against a Corrupted Titan, and it's a good Titan.
Which spent the whole time of its release before Corrupted Titans not having
anything to get its bonus.
To get its bonus again. So yeah, I think Loyalists already had their counter to Mutated Titans.
Maybe
they just had it a lot earlier.
And people have probably forgotten about it.
Yeah.
It was out. It keeps going out of stock. But I mean, the problem with the Psi Titan though is it is expensive. What is it these days? Like 90 quid? I think, is it? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a while since I checked Forge World, but it's around 85, 90 quid, which is a lot for one Titan. But that's another counter. Take the worst case, you've got a really good really good Warhound. For goodness' sake, 3rd time lucky. Really good Warlord in your force. They're expensive, sure, but so are Corrupted Titans. So Toby TA Wow, he actually asked us, so what are the best weapon options for the Psi Titans? So as standard, it comes with a fist. It comes with the I'm not even going to try and remember how to pronounce it. The left-handed darkness.
Yes, Cinnabas or something.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try. And I think you have to pay for the carapace. And I think as standard, a lot of people put the laser blasters on them, because that's what you get in the kit. Because you're basically given when you buy the kit from Forge World, you're given a Plasma Warlord and an upgrade pack in resin, which gives you the arm, gives you the Sinistrum Tenebrae thing on the top.
Head. Yeah, that's code.
Sinistramus Tenebrae or whatever. Yeah. And the head. But melee, the fist. I keep taking a fist on my warlords, and I still are failing to ever get them into close combat. It's I don't think that the fist on the Psi Titan is the way to go. What I do quite like the idea of is the Left-Handed Darkness and a Volkite, because then you've got 2 beam weapons.
I was going to say the Macro Gatling.
Macro Gatling
It's
is
just a good
always
all-rounder.
Yeah, you can never go wrong with a macro
exactly.
Gatling. But I do like the idea of just going like 2 beams, one with your Volkite, one with your Left-Handed Darkness. Very good for finishing. Obviously strength 10 for the Side Titan weapon, which is very, very good. Only strength, is it 6? I think it's 6 for the Volkite. But generally what I do is plasma.
Yeah.
Plasma
or macro Gatling, just because they're workhorses. They're good at every stage of the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and the plasma's in a good place because you've got enough dice that you can fish for targeted shots.
Absolutely.
And still be strength 10. And then obviously the Gatling, which is... So what I would do is put Gatlings up top.
Yeah.
And do like a Carapace Gatlings and a...
Sun Fury.
Yeah. On the arms. Or if you can't quite afford that, maybe drop the Carapace Gatlings down to Apox.
That's the other thing. It's what you can afford to squeeze into your list. It's just getting the most out of what points you've got left, really.
Yeah. I mean, the Apox are a good second option. Bit cheaper, slightly less strength, slightly less hits, but still going to be good for shield stripping, still going to be good for finishing if you've got track damage and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. That's how I do it.
No, yeah, exactly the same. No, yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean you can't go wrong with any of those, to be honest.
I mean they're all good weapons.
Yeah, I don't know if it's me falling back into old habits though, where like if in doubt, Carapace Gatling, 12 dice of rudeness coming right at you.
Or even the Vulcan Mega Bolt array. Right.
Yeah.
12 dice rapid, I think it is.
Yeah. Everyone loves rapid.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so Stuart Oliver then.
Yeah.
He asked, what would you consider the optimal loadout for a Warbringer and how do you use it on the table? So you've used Warbringers quite a lot recently. Obviously, points aside, you've gone, in the battle report you went for Gatlings, Volcanoes and a Mori Quake Cannon.
Yeah, so Mori Quake Cannon on the top and then Gatlings and Volcano Cannon on the arm. I've only used them in this battle report and our practice game, so again still learning, but I think for the points the Volcano on the top is just too expensive. Considering you can take a Volcano on the arm, you're limiting yourself weapons options, so that's why I took both, one on the arm, one on the roof, and then the other weapon, it depends how close you want to get to the enemy. If you want to stay a little bit further back, you could do a second Volcano Cannon, laser blasters, although you're taking that minus hit, 1 to hit over 16 inches. Gatlings if you want a bit of extra shield stripping. But that personally, I'd run Quake over Volcano every time, just because I just don't think the points are worth it.
I think that the Quake is good for its secondary effects as well.
Yes,
of course,
very good. Big template, decent strength.
Quake concussion.
Quake and concussive, yeah.
Yeah, the only...
That's half the points.
The problem with the Warbringer is getting the shields down to get the benefit.
Yes, so they're not standalone Titans. They don't do well on their own. They need support. Things like an Arcus Maniple would be great because you've got a couple of Warhounds running around, stripping shields, and then following up with heavy weapon fire from a Warbringer. That's how I see them being used as fire support Titans.
And against a Knight heavy list though, like having in the Ruptura having 2 Moris is nasty against Knight lists.
I mean, yeah, if you can get them in arc, if they're not too sneaky, which they are, moving up to 24 inches a turn, it can be hard to get them in arc, but when you do, dropping that big 5-inch template on them is great.
Yeah, I think that people who've listened to the show before will kind of know our feelings on this. So I think both me and Ben were quite disappointed when it did turn out to be a typo that they got arc on their on the Quake, because I still think that them having a 45-degree angle on their carapace weapon rather than the corridor would give them more of a role. And give them their place within, but as it stands, they're already like in this sort of position between Reavers and Warlords, and you've got to pay 25 points if you want to upgrade the the Mori to with tracking gyros, which it's your main armament, so you kind of want to. I mean, you found the difference having one with and one without.
So I got the points on the list to have one of the Warbringers with tracking gyroscopes and the other without, and it makes a hell of a difference. I mean, it makes it hard. It makes you think more on the one that hasn't got the tracking gyroscopes, because you've got to almost let your target move first, so you know where it's going to be.
But also, if your target dies for whatever reason, and you've got tracking gyros, and you've got options rather than I'd lined up against that. I mean, great that it's dead, but now I can't use it.
I just think if you're the kind of player that can think moves ahead and plan, then it's not such a huge deficit.
Yeah, I think people have gotten used to it. I've got to kind of expect the 45 degree now, rather than it never existed a while ago, and you just have to work with it.
The corridor arc is still fairly generous. You've just got to be a little bit more forward planning with it. You just got to think a bit more about who you're targeting and at what stage you then commit to your movement, because once you've committed to your movement, if they then arc dodge you, you lose out.
So for me personally, if I was taking a Warbringer and like ignoring points like in lists, just take whatever I could have is what I would put. I think I agree with you. I think the Mori on top would be my choice. Obviously, if it's in an extergamus, if you're taking a Warbringer in an extergamus, for instance, then you can get the +2 strength moving up to strength 11, which is massive for the Mori. But Gatling and Melter would be what I would take, and I would go for that mid-range 24 inches, because the problem is that when you get under 24 inches, the Mori is suffering negatives. So having reliable ways of causing damage, and the closer they get to you, the kind of harsher it becomes, really, because they might be dodging the Mori now, but now you're on D12s for damage with
that is possibly melter. How I'd have run these loadouts, but I ran out of melter weapons.
So you need to buy some more melters.
It literally was a logistics problem. I didn't have enough melters.
Time to go to Battlebling and start making some more, painting some more. But I've started my Tempestus in the last since the beginning of the year, and they have got the and I can't. This is terrible. I can't remember the name of it. Let me quickly look at the book. There is a piece of war gear in it, which is called the Cosmetic pattern laser disruptors, and that adds 6 inches to the short range of laser blasters and laser destructors.
Makes them
22 inches short range. And so for my Tempestus, I've actually taken Mori up top and 2 laser blasters, upgraded for the extra points with the Cosmetic. And that means that I'm not getting that -1 to hit up to 22 inches, which is a big difference between the 16 and the 22. So I'm interested to see how that works. It's the only model in my Tempestus that I've taken the upgrade on. I've kind of done it all in one basket, and it's expensive to make it like that, but I'm intrigued to know if that is enough. With the obviously it's got a good reactor on it, so you can be shield baning every round, and 2 lots of shield baning, 6 dice shield baning, 1 hit, hopefully the next, hopefully on 3s, might be enough to bring some shields down, and then you can capitalise using your more on top. But like you say, it doing all the job on its own is tough.
No, it's not a standalone type. It's not a warlord that can just stand and
just
do its own
strip
thing.
And break through the armour and then finish. It's
a support titan. It needs buddies around.
And I think that's why you decided to sort of flip over your double close combat list to having a few more guns, just so you could kind of help with that.
So put the melters in there just to make it a bit more punchy at range.
A bit more punchy without being punchy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do one more. So Alex at Promethean Painting. Alex is also one of the guys who's on the bottom of the Battle Reports YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked those guys out, do give them a look. They do some great bat reps. He's asked, sort of balance as an aside, corruptions definitely seem to be more fun than the rarely taken upgrades loyalists get, and more list defining. And the example he gives is being able to really lean into melee, as an example. What do loyalists need to give them something equally interesting? Now, I agree with Alex. Corruptions definitely are more fun for the traitors, and I think that the fun balance is very much in for the traitors. They just do seem to have more options available to them. But I don't know how you balance that on the loyalist side, because there's certainly not a lot in the fluff that you could kind of throw in, other than the already released Psi Titan as an example.
Yeah, I mean, you could just run a Traitor Legio as loyalists and reword the corruptions to be more Imperial upgrades. If you're looking for that fun and you think the loyalists are definitely missing out,
just give them corruptions, but don't call them corruptions.
Yeah, call them something else. I mean, I don't. At the end of the day, there's so much flexibility in the way you build your Titans, the bits you can lean into, the upgrades you can give them. You know, you can pretty much do anything. The limit to what you can do is basically limited on what you can imagine and fit into the points. If you want to do it, do it.
The limit is only your imagination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if you're doing something and you're not finding it fun, you know, if you are doing a specific loyalist legio and you're not finding that fun, just pick a legio or do a crusade legio. You know, use some.
Okay.
I know. Yeah. Just do whatever you've got to do to make your list do what you want it to do. I think.
Yeah. I mean, honestly speaking, if you haven't got more than one Titan Legio, are you really doing Titanicus?
Yeah,
if you feel like the traitors are having more fun, then get yourself a second Legio.
Yeah, or a third.
And then,
or a fourth.
Yeah, and then
why stop
there?
I know none of us have.
But I don't know, it depends what you kind of feel is how you define fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the list building is good, but like as we've said, you know, there's a trade-off. There's always a trade-off. Granted, it's probably a bit more scope with what you can do with a corrupted Legio, but then some Legios in the traitor books aren't good for corruptions. Like we spoke about Furians before Christmas, you know, where you are twice as likely to have to roll on an Awakened Machine Spirit table, and you're more likely to fail it. Granted, you can pick, but you are still failing things more. And
taking more heat.
Yeah, there's just not all traitors should be corrupted just because they can be. It doesn't mean that corruptions are going to make them better. Some Legios aren't going to be made better by running them corrupted. You should just run them as they are, as they were originally intended.
Yeah, you've also got to, I think, work backwards. So picture what you want and what you think is fun, and work back to building the list on that, rather than start building the list and trying to build in what you think is.
You know, with all of the games Games Workshop ever done, like Chaos have always had corruptions or mutations in some form or another.
Yeah.
And there's always been a downside to the upside.
There's a trade-off, yeah.
But does that mean that they're better? No. Does that mean that they are more fun? Depends on your definition of fun. I enjoyed running some of mine corrupted, but then I still probably enjoy Gryphonicus more than every Legio that I played, which has been a corrupted Legio, because I just really enjoy how they play and what you can do with them and the style of play that they do, and I really like how they look on the table.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, I think it comes down to I do agree. It would be nice if loyalists had something a bit more kind of automatically accessible to give them an edge, which anybody could bring to the table. Like the Psi Titan, as we have said, is prohibitively expensive when you can even get it. Obviously, parts are available from places like BattleBling for alternatives, so to speak, and the rules are all published for the weapons and everything. I think that the cards were in, was it Shadow and Iron? I think it
one of the
was.
supplements, yeah.
So, you can get hold of the cards from Shadow and Iron, and it's essentially a Warlord. So you just use a Warlord terminal with the Shadow and Iron weapons cards, and create your own, or 3D print your own alternative weapons if you want a Psi Titan. But it's not only prohibitively expensive in money wise to buy an official one, but they're about 600 points, aren't they? I think
And
for a Psi
some,
Titan.
it can be.
And that is the only option that they have. But what else? What else is there? I'm not sure that there is anything in the fluff. Anything else would have to be new, and I don't know what that is at this point. Maybe some loyalist-specific maniples we might see in the future, or some traitor-specific maniples.
In the Laniaskara fluff, they do actually mention the Punisher class Titan. So, there is scope for new Titans still.
Yeah.
So, maybe that'll be loyalist only. Who knows? Maybe that's what...
Who knows?
What might
Games
answer that
Workshop always
Yeah.
surprise us, don't they? But yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one to answer, but I wouldn't be I think there is a perception out there that it is more fun to be a traitor than it is to be a loyalist, but I think it ultimately comes down to what you want to do and the kind of person that you are, and for some people that sort of stuff is just not their bag. So find the fun in the game where you can find it and where...
Work around that, yeah.
Yeah. Like I say, start with what you want to do and work backwards. I've seen some amazing examples of green stuffed and kit bashed corrupted Titans, and I wish that the modelling aspect of the corrupted Titans was a bit more accessible. I'm not, I like painting and stuff, but I'm not a modeller. I'm not good when it comes to kit bashing. I don't have, say for instance, George, who was on the last show's ability to kind of look at a load of bits and create. Have you seen George's orcs?
His orcs, yeah.
That he's done. Yeah,
They are looking amazing.
yeah.
Fantastic.
So he's kit bashed some orcs for
Gargants.
as Gargants to be used. I think he's using Vulpa, isn't he? Oh, he's, one of the ideas was Vulpa or Custom Legio, so I might have to push him down the route of Vulpa instead, just so he can play at future events, just in case they get banned because we want to bring Vortex back. Excuse me. Joking aside, but yeah, like I don't have that ability, so it's nice. I think if that is if that is your idea and you want to go to town on that sort of stuff, then you would throw it in with the corruptions. But otherwise, I think just do whatever gets your rocks off when it comes to modelling, really, and take it from there. Anything else that you wanted to talk about tonight, Oliver? And thank you very much for being
thanks for having me.
The guest on tonight. It's been good. It's great.
It was a really good battle report, and I enjoyed that.
It's nice when things go pop, and
Very
things
nice.
went pop quite often, doesn't it?
Quite a lot of popping.
Okay, in which case then, thank you very much for watching or listening to us. Again, it's nice to be kind of back doing this again after our break over Christmas, get back into the swing of things. Thank you very much to Oliver for being on the battle report earlier on today and for joining me on the podcast. Thank you very much for the man behind the cameras, Mr. Johnny Eves, for his... can you see his thumb?
The camera's too far away.
His arm is not long enough to come into view of the cameras. I'll see if I get you on one of the other cameras. But and his editing that he's been doing on the battle reports. And if you do want to support the show, as we said at the beginning, please consider supporting us on Patreon to kind of help us continue to kind of grow and develop as a channel. And
let us know what you'd like to see.
Absolutely, yeah. If you've got any suggestions,
you'd like us to do,
just sling them in Discord, ping me an email, maximalfire@gmail.com, and yeah, just let us know. And until next time, guys, just leaves me with, I think I need to work out a new catch line. This one's been like over a year old or something now. Like I don't quite have the same sort of snappiness of what is it? Thrills, kills, and engine spills, says Mr. Chris from Tabletop Standard. Which rolls off the tongue very nicely. But always remember to go big, go loud, and go maximal.